Very often we will find on Facebook specifically or on other social media that questions will be put out there about being a so-called genius, but all they're really testing in most of these cases are the principles or the knowledge behind the order of operations. So if you look at this question very carefully, you will notice that we have a multiplication there. Now, the order of operations is normally summarized with the following abbreviation. We call it BODMAS, or sometimes it's called PEMDAS. Both of these refer to the fact that your brackets or parentheses, meaning the same thing, are always first, always have to be done first. But then this word O stands for of, such as half of 20. Now, a half of 20 essentially is a half times by 20 over 1, which then goes over to the division and the multiplication. So essentially the word of is multiplication. However, if you do get the word of in a number sentence somewhere, it has to be done first, even before the division and the multiplication. And if you go to the PEMDAS, we have exponents. Now, exponents also is pretty much the same as multiplication and division. That's essentially what an exponent means. But it needs to be done first, before normal multiplication and division. And then we also have addition and subtraction. Now, you'll notice with the BODMAS, we have the D and the M in that sequence, and with PEMDAS, we have the M and the D in that sequence. Pretty much what the order of operations says is that if you have plus and minus or division and multiply in the same number sentence, you just take it from left to right. There is no specific order between them. Take it from left to right. So if you have something like 1 plus 2 times by 3, you have to do the multiplication first, which will then give you 6, so it becomes 1 plus 6. But if it was 1 plus 2 times by 3 minus, let's say, 3, then you can say, do the multiplication first, then we have 1 plus 6 minus 3, and then we will take it from the left-hand side. We will add first, getting 7, and 7 minus 3 will give us 4. So we take the multiplication and the division and the addition and the subtraction as if they have the same order, but we just take it from left to right. So just for interest's sake, you might get something like this: 12 divided by 4 divided by 2. Then you will take it also from left to right. You will first say 12 divided by 4 will give us 3, and then 3 divided by 2 will give us 3 over 2, or 1.5. So you don't do that part first, saying 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then say 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. And it really is 6 of the one and half a dozen of the other. There's no specific rule in nature out there that says the way we do the order of operations is the only correct way. It's about deleting the possibility of ambiguity. That's why mathematicians stick to the rules of the order of operations, so that we actually have a rule to gauge the answer by. Otherwise, everybody can just say, but I'm right. So take note that it's not specifically that there is something like you can't divide by 0. I mean, that's a rule in nature. But the order of operations is a rule instituted by mathematicians to make sure that everybody adheres to the same standard. Which means then, if we look at this question, you're going to have to do the multiplication first. 7 times by 7, which will give us 49. So then we have 7 minus 49 plus 7. And 7 minus 49 will then give us minus 42. And then minus 42 plus 7 will give us minus 35. And the way this works in terms of the negative numbers is pretty much working with money, if you think about it. It's an easy analogy to use positive and negative numbers. So a positive number will be money that you have, and a negative number will be money that you owe. So if you have 7 rands in your wallet, but you owe 49 rands, you will pay what you owe, and you'll still be left with a debt of 42 rands after you've paid the 7 rands. Then that minus 42, you actually get 7 rands from somewhere, and you pay a little bit more on your debt, and then you owe less. Then you owe minus 35 rands. And that's just a little side note on how to use the positive and the negative numbers. We could have also said, let's add those two numbers together first, just for the sake of putting the two numbers together. That would have given us 14, and 14 minus 49 will also give you minus 35. But because we are specifically working with the order of operations, you do the subtraction first and then the addition second, after you've done the multiplication.